Wherever I go, anywhere in the world, I tell Muslim communities about this exhibition in Edinburgh. And in fact, in one of my books called Talking to Muslims in the West, I have a chapter called Reaching Out in Edinburgh. And I tell people that if they want to know how to do dawah, if they want to know how to tell people about Islam, come and spend a couple of days in Edinburgh and see how it's done.
Just doing the prayer, not talking nicely to people is part of worship. Smiling in the face of people is part of worship. Going to your work, earning money so that you can sustain your children in a good way, educate them well is part of worship. So the whole way of life is part of worship, as long as your intention is right.
One of the wonderful things here, I believe, is, and the reason for its success, is that many of the elders of the mosque, the uncles as we might call them, the older people, it's not their background for strangers to be coming in and walking around and, you know, non-Muslims to, but they've been wise enough to see that this works somehow. And they've been generous enough of spirit to allow the younger people in the mosque to organize this excellent month, this festival. And I think that speaks very loudly to Muslims throughout the world, you know. If it's just the young people doing something on their own, it won't work. But the young people must respect the wisdom of their elders, but the elders must also look to the young who are the future and say, well, we don't really understand how this is working, but it is working. And the importance of speaking to people of faith, and even to people with no faith, is to explain to them on a one-to-one level that, look, I'm Muslim. I don't have two heads. I didn't fall out of the sky. You know, I had breakfast like you this morning. Muslims have to go out to work and put food on the table for their kids. They're very ordinary people, but their lives have been touched by a very special message. And on behalf of all Muslims, I want to extend a hand of friendship and say to you, peace, salam, because Islam is not only comfortable with people of other faiths, but respects them and wants to be friends with them.
I've been a Christian all my life. It was recently, well, in the last few years, I became more of a practicing, a more keen Christian. I'm now studying to be a Catholic priest. One of the kind of side effects, and a very important side effect, is to build up mutual respect, you know, on a personal level, and kind of understanding, so that leads towards peaceful coexistence also. But I think that's got to be, in a sense, a side effect. You know, I don't believe that dialogue has to stop there. I think it's also got to raise the question of the truth in religion, and so we've also got to be willing to use our intelligence and our reason to try and figure out some of the difficult questions. So I believe that religious dialogue has also got that task, and that people shouldn't shrink away from that. But hopefully in the process of engaging in that, it can result not in kind of fear and hostility, but rather in respect and friendship.
You know, as people of faith, we should never feel threatened by goodness, but often we are. And when we're threatened by goodness, it's often showing how weak our own faith is, because goodness comes from Allah, it comes from God. Goodness doesn't come from the devil. So when we see a good Jew or a good Christian and we feel threatened by it, we're the ones that have to examine our consciences of why we find that threatening. So in sharing with Christians and Jews and people of goodwill, we try to make the message of Islam known in a clear and a simple way.
You know, so many people, they just read something about Islam or they hear something on the TV and they come to this exhibition, and often people come in a very defensive state of mind, sometimes in a hostile state of mind. And then, you know, we talk, and it's really important that the talking is dialogue and not a monologue on our part. And it's really important that we listen carefully. And I would say in, you know, 99% of cases that we part as friends. And they say, I'm so glad I came, this has been really interesting, this has really opened my eyes. So, you know, this is really important.
When the Quran speaks about sharing the message of Islam, it does not speak about proselytizing, but it uses a different term. It's called da'wah, which literally means invitation in the literal sense. If you look to the English lexicon, the word proselytizing seems to project trying to manipulate or exploit the weakness of someone or pressure them in order to accept something otherwise they would not like. If this is the meaning of proselytizing, there is no proselytizing in Islam. The concept of da'wah is different because, like I said, literally it means invitation.
So da'wah, what I would call calling people to Islam, is something that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has done all his life. And it's really doing da'wah, especially in that Western society, is really, for me, following the path of our beloved Prophet. And it's really important to understand that we are not here to convert or to push people to accept Islam. We're here to present the message of Islam, which is very simple. I mean, we say to people, our goal is to say to people the message is, of Islam is really worship God. There is only one God, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the last messenger. And if we recognize the Prophet, peace be upon him, then we recognize all of the prophets behind him. So that's important, and so we are not here to convert, but really to present the message in a soft and gentle and wise way.